It is incredibly important that we are able to offer to our GSB alumni an opportunity to participate in such a valuable experience as ACT. So thank you for everything you do, for the people that you serve, and on behalf of the GSB, I'm delighted to be here.
So it is not often in my experience that we have such a clear and strong example of the impact that ACT can have over time on an organization. So I wanted to just share a little bit with you about the example that we're featuring tonight, which is with Outward Bound. So the Outward Bound USA came to ACT in 2006 to ask for a feasibility study to bring an urban program to an urban center to the Bay Area. So a team was formed, and the first half was focused on determining what the best communities might be for this endeavor, and the second half was to create a business plan that would guide the unfolding of an urban center in San Francisco, which is where Outward Bound USA had chosen. Tonight, Woody Skall, who was on the team, is going to speak, as is Josh Brinkman, who is the executive director of what was initially the urban center of the Bay Area, but is now Outward Bound California.
Thanks, Susan. It's great to be here, and interesting to be talking about an ACT project to people who have been involved in ACT, and I feel like it's very much preaching to the choir, both about the impact and also about the applicability of what we as Stanford grads, MBAs, and business people bring to community-oriented organizations. But I'll reflect on that because that's what Susan asked me to do.
These guys led a great project, and as Susan Austin said, it was two parts. One was more feasibility. Should Outward Bound bring this new concept of an urban center to the Bay Area? In a lot of ways, whether it's learning how to influence people, whether it's just, as business people, our tenacity in getting things done, selling a vision, all those things, not overtly, but implicitly kind of came together to kind of put together the building blocks of this organization. I then became the founding chair. I stayed on as chair for 3 years. And one of the most important things we did, as we know in business, is it's the people that matter. And we recruited an exceptional executive director who's still part of Outward Bound as executive director today. He's smart, he's capable, he's extremely committed, and he's been there for 6 years. And he's made a huge difference. So that's the story of how we got here. But what's really important is the impact we're having and where the trajectory of the organization since then. I'm going to let Josh tell you about that. I'll just say I'm really proud of both the project we did as well as the success of the organization, the staying power of the organization. Sometimes it's easy to start something. It's harder to put it into a sustainable mode. And I think we did that, but the person who's really made it happen is Josh Brinkman. So let me introduce you to Josh.
So thank you, Woody and Susan, and for all of you and your support of the GSB's project and Stanford ACT for really diving into community organizations to make an impact where we are here in the Bay Area. I think it is incredibly easy in our community to assume that all things go well for all people all the time. We are fortunate enough to be in a place in a time where life is pretty good. But the reality is that, as we all know, and the commitment level that you all have in working on these projects is because you know that there are still places and communities that need support. And there are organizations that are trying to do good work, but need that extra little push, that extra little kick, that extra little or a lot of talent who can get behind you, support you, consult for you, and help you figure out your right path. Outward Bound came to Stanford GSB and said, let's figure out how to do this in the San Francisco Bay Area. Can we take this model that's been so successful and adapt it to the communities of need in the Bay Area? Those early days, Outward Bound, although a big brand, those early days in San Francisco, we were a small shop. We were a startup. First, you had basically a set of volunteer executive directors doing a lot of that blocking and tackling and a lot of that effort to make those initial relationships and initial funding. And then slowly, those of you that have been in startups know You start having meetings. Now you're not in the garage, you're in the basement office of someone, and then you actually make it around the dinner table, and finally you find space somewhere because someone really helped you out, and you start adding staff. And Outward Bound, from about 2009, started committing that high talent staff to come to the Bay Area and build out this program. I am proud to say we've been very successful, and the success started with the Stanford feasibility study. We were given a roadmap to start, build, and then the beauty of it was to also edit and expand as we felt like would best serve our students. So today, it's 2015, it's 6 years after first programs, 9-ish years after a feasibility study, and I'm proud to say that Outward Bound California now is thriving thanks to this original project. In that first year, Outward Bound Bay Area Center worked with about 380 students. We had a budget of about $400,000, and we were 3.5 people in one room of this great place that the Presidio had given us. Now, Outward Bound California is a little bit larger. We are 14 full-time staff, 75 seasonal staff during the summer. We raise just north of $1.3 million a year for scholarship programs benefiting local low-income students. We have a for-profit business line that is about $1 million to $1.5 million a year. And what's even better is that even though we're now shoehorned into that really small space in the Presidio because we're so many people, the mission and the core values of what Outward Bound is and what the feasibility told us to do are still intact. We changed our name in 2012 to Outward Bound California, part because of a national organizational shift, but also part of a strategy that we realized if we're doing such a good job in the Bay Area, can we actually leverage this and build to a place of scale where we can now take it to other communities across the state? So I'm also proud to say that there's a strategic planning process underway. And our board and our staff are working right now to figure out what that next step for Outward Bound California is. And for all intents and purposes, we are, I believe, an incredible success story, not just of an organization, but an organization that started from an idea and a really well thought out consulting project that had some legs, had some reality attached to it, and actually had the talent behind it to move it forward. So from the bottom of my heart, as an executive director, as a former high school principal committed to this work, thank you for all the work that you do in all of the organizations around the Bay Area that benefit from your intelligence and your talent. We are continuing to make a difference, and it's because of your effort.